What is up, guys? Welcome to another video. Before we hit the computer and start coding, hit that subscribe button down below, leave a like if you're enjoying the content, and drop a comment down below. Let me know what you want to see coded up next. In this video, we are going over the TikTok for Business API. What does that mean? Well, to put it simply, we will be able to create ads on TikTok with the TikTok Business API. But before we can get to the creating part of the ads, we have to create an app for the Business API, and we have to get an access token so we can communicate with the API, which is what we're going to be doing in this video. As always, links are in the description below to things like the GitHub repository for the SDK, documentation. Go check out Bubbles merch on Printify, support the channel there, join the new Discord server I set up, join the community, and we're live streaming Saturday mornings on Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, 8 a.m. Saturday morning. With that, I'll see you on the computer. What is up, guys? Welcome to the video on TikTok Business API app and access tokens. Now, eventually we will be creating ads through the TikTok Business API, but we have to start with our app and access tokens because we need a business app in order to use the API, and then we need an access token in order to use that app. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video. We're going to begin over at business-api.tiktok.com/portal. Get logged in, click on the hamburger menu in the right corner, and click on My Apps. If you don't have these two options here, App Center and Marketing API, and it just says Become a Developer, go ahead, click on Become Developer, follow the steps, fill in the forms, and once you finally get to submit it, you will be able to see these two options. We're going to go ahead and click on the Marketing API app because we are using the API. We'll call our app Bubbles, app description, create ads for Bubbles. Our redirect here where the user will be sent once they authenticate with our app, and going over this URL in more detail because I know it's confusing for some people. Basically, once you click continue with TikTok on your website, you send the user to TikTok, where TikTok will display a login dialog to the user saying, hey, here's your user. Do you want to connect your user to the app, which is the app we're creating here? If they click yes, TikTok will redirect the user to this URL right here. Then we have the scope of permissions. I'm going to go ahead and check all of them. TikTok does recommend you only check what you want, but hey, let's see if they approve this app for checking all of them. Highly doubtful, but try it anyway. Scrolling down, let's add an app logo and another redirect URL down here for the account holder. Click submit, and our app has been submitted. You will then see your app here under the Marketing API. There's our app name, Bubbles. We don't have an app ID yet because it hasn't been approved, and our verification status is pending. And then you wait, and once your app is approved, it will look something like this. App name, you'll be able to click on it. We have our app ID. It has been approved. We have our app secret, and we can delete it there. Also, we have our online toggle right here. Now, this is another review process, which can be very annoying sometimes. With this one, they did not allow me to check all those checkboxes, but finally my app got approved. Trust me, guys, just stick with it, keep submitting your app, and eventually it will get approved, hopefully. And here's where we see all the details for our app. Our basic information, the things we want to note and keep track of here is our app ID, our app secret, and our redirect URL here, which we set up when we created the app. Scrolling down here, we'll see the permissions that I have for my app. I only selected the ones that I'm going to be using, like TikTok requested. Scrolling down further, we have the sandbox area, which is great for testing. We have our sandbox account name, we have our advertiser sandbox ID, and we can generate an access token right here so we don't have to go through the whole login dialog, sending the user to TikTok, sending the user back to our website, and exchanging a code for an access token. You can simply click generate right here, and you will have an access token for use with your sandbox account. And so that is the overview of getting an app set up for use with the Business Developers API. We created the app, we got our app ID, our app secret, we got our redirect URL, we set up the scopes, got our sandbox advertiser ID. We can generate an access token right here from the dashboard for the sandbox account. Now let's hop over to the code and check out the PHP SDK and see how we can generate an access token through the code when the user gets redirected back to our redirect URL and exchange that code for an access token. I'm going to begin over on GitHub. Go check out my GitHub, guys, github.com/jstolpe. This is where the TikTok Business Ads API PHP SDK is. We're going to head over to the wiki, and right now the SDK only supports access tokens. This is a work in progress, so I'll be building this as I go along, but this is all we need for this video, the access tokens. And the first snippet here is our TikTok login dialog. We're going to copy this code snippet here for the TikTok login dialog. Over in my www folder, blog code TikTok API business folder, I have a defines file, which is where we're going to keep things like the access token, app secret, app ID, redirect theory, and then I have the login script, which is where we're going to paste that code snippet. And then above our code snippet, we're going to require our defines file. Now let's open up our defines file. First thing we're going to do in our defines file is require our PHP SDK so it's loaded up and ready to go. So I have checked out the GitHub repository that I just showed you guys, the TikTok Business Ads API PHP SDK, into my www folder, which is 3 levels up from this defines file. And in that repository, there's a source folder, TikTok ads, and the autoload.php, which is going to take care of all of the work for us. Then we're going to define our app ID. We're going to have an app secret and a redirectory. We're going to fill these values in here with the values straight from our app on the TikTok Business API dashboard. I'm not going to show you guys these values though because they're top secret. I'm going to fill these in and we'll be done with the defines file. Back to our login.php file, we have access to those defines now, so we're going to replace our app ID here with our define app ID and our app secret with our app secret define. Likewise down here with our redirectory. And now when we load this page up in our browser, we should see a continue with TikTok link on the page. Over in our business folder, in the browser, we see our 2 files here, defines and login.php. When we click on the login.php file, there is our continue with TikTok. Click on that. It should take us to TikTok, where Bubbles is requesting permission to our user for these different things, which are the scopes that we checked in the list when we created our app. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to confirm this. And we should be redirected back to our website, the redirect URL that we specified in the app. And now in the URL there's an auth code present, which we can exchange for an access token. So back to the wiki, if we go down a little farther on the access tokens page, we see our access token code snippet. It's very similar, except for we just make a separate call on the authentication class. We're going to copy these 2 lines since we've already defined these in our login code. Copy those 2 lines, and we're going to place them down here below our echo statement. We're going to wrap everything here in an if statement. If empty get auth code, meaning no auth code is present in the URL, we're going to do everything that we just did before and echo out a continue with TikTok link. Otherwise, we have an auth code in the URL, and we're going to go ahead and exchange that auth code for an access token. Token from code. And let's just dump out the whole response here, token from code. And now we should see an access token printed out on our login.php. We now have gotten our request back. We have exchanged that code for an access token. Here's the access token right here in our response. You can see some other debug stuff from the SDK. It tells you the request that we sent off to TikTok. It was a post. The base URL, we're using the public production API. Our OAuth/token is the endpoint. We passed along these parameters to that endpoint, and then we got back some data. We got back the access token, the advertiser IDs along with the scopes associated with the access token we generated. And if we refresh the page again with that same code is no longer valid. They are a one-time use code. You will get the message, the auth code is already used. It's an old code, it's done, it can't be used anymore. Please reauthorize and try again with a new auth code. And with that, we're going to wrap up the TikTok Business API app and access tokens video. We covered a lot in this video. We covered how to set up the business app, get all the credentials we need for that app, the IDs, the secrets, the access tokens. We set the scopes, we look at the sandbox account, and then we went and used the PHP SDK, did it manually. We prompted the user with a continue with TikTok link, took them to TikTok. The user authorized our app for use with the business API. The business API redirected the user back to our redirect URL where we exchanged that code for an access token. And that access token is good for use with any of the scopes that we check in the app. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. More importantly, I hope you learned something. Hit that subscribe button, leave a like, drop a comment down below, and let me know what you want to see coded up next. I'll catch you later.